Hi, it's Stephanie. Welcome to Ageless. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, ladies, I am so glad you're here. I have a wonderful, wonderful young lady sitting right next to me, and her name is Christy. And she's going to just share a little bit about herself and tell us all about the wonderful things that she does or is doing. So go for it, Christy.
Okay. Hello everyone. Uh, Great to be here. So yes, I want to start off. I am a teacher. I'm a special education teacher. I've been teaching for about 11 years. I can't believe it, and some of my people can't believe it either. It has been a ride, with all the changes going on. So I definitely have a heart for kids who are special needs, and I also have a heart for adults who also have special needs and disparities. I've been a caregiver for my father, and then also just a caregiver in general. That was my job, and realizing it was preparing me for my father, which was the greatest gift I could ever have. And it's taught me a lot about people, caring for elderly people. So when I see somebody in need or maybe they have questions, like I'm always willing to help. Sometimes I go to the it's an adult daycare, it's called Royal Daycare.
Oh,
It's in Stone Mountain, and I go and volunteer there. And it just reminds me of what, I used to do for my father. And it also, it's just it's one of those things where you never know where you're going to be, right? And so you want people to be kind to you and gracious to you. So I have a heart for elderly and also children that can't really advocate for themselves, to be honest. And so that is my dream to be eventually an advocate. But and then I also lead worship at U Movement Church. And on you can find me on pretty much every Sunday, but I take off once a month now due to health. Preserving my health, I should say. I definitely have learned how to use wisdom. So I am usually there about 3 Sundays out of the 4 Sundays, leading worship, also writing songs. And I realized that my voice is for the kingdom. So I write, but I'm writing for the kingdom so as well. So those are some of the things that I do and some of the things that I'm a part of. And I probably have a lot more I could say, but I'm gonna just leave it right there.
oh, she has a beautiful voice, everybody. And if you can slow her down just a minute, you might be able to hear. But she's always going somewhere. So it's she's like the road runner. If you guys, she's like the road runner. So anyway, I want you guys to meet Christy. She has a wonderful, wonderful story to tell about the faithfulness of God. And so, Christy, welcome. Thank you for being here, and take a
Thank
share as you wish.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me. This is really a honor. Um, whew, now I'm feeling it.
Okay.
This is really an honor. So I thank God for the opportunity as well. So yeah, I share my story. I guess I get started. So in January of this year, I lost an aunt, a great aunt, and then in April, by April 4th this year, I lost an aunt as well. And I lost them both to cancer. One had breast cancer, and the other one had leukemia, and then it became lung cancer. It went traveled to her lungs. Both went in remission. Both were healthy. They were cured, but the cancer came back, and so both of them succumbed to cancer. And I would say at the beginning of January, it was just a really, it's just, life had just been happening back and forth. I would say, honestly, about 2 years ago, I lost my father, in 2023. And that it was almost like grief had just trickled down for years. And you hear grief and you hear, people coming out of it, but I realized like grief is a wave that really comes and goes. And for me, that's what it was. Although I know where my father is, I know he's alive and well in the Lord. and he is in a much better place. I still felt the effects of grief. And so I believe that I carried that with me for a while. And so when I lost my aunts, I want to say it kind of resurfaced again for me. And so January, I went to the doctor and I went to do my annual exam, and the doctor was like, "You need to do a mammogram." So backstory was I did a mammogram the day my dad died, which was July 14th, 2023. And so I haven't been back. So I was not the reason for it, but it was just more like trauma, like a lot of things just replayed itself. So in my head, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I just not didn't make it a first priority. And I would say with the deaths of my aunts and the traveling and the going back and forth and the job, I was extremely, extremely stressed. And then also I was doing work with ministry, which I didn't feel like it was a job, but at the same time, like when you're doing so many things and you're going, 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 you're not stopping. And I saw my life I just kept going. I was trying to be there for everybody. I was trying to be there, making sure that things weren't placed. And when you have a parent that you're caring for, you know, from a distance, with my mother, like I was trying to make sure she was okay because I realized she was reliving a lot of trauma. She was really reliving a lot of grief. So I was just trying to be there for a lot of people. My brother got sick and I was trying to, just
You had a
going
lot
back and
on your
forth
plate. You had a lot.
on my plate. And everybody's like, you got to slow down. And I was like, I am going to slow down. Summer is my time to slow down.
But you
And
did, because I tried to get you too, so you did not slow down.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, everybody was like, your life is crazy. And I was like, yeah, yeah. And I just blew it off because I felt like being busier was easier than sitting down with some of the things that I did not deal with. And I realize that now. So God had a way of doing that. So anyway, um, at May, around May, I would say Mother's Day time, I felt a knot on my breast. Didn't pay it attention, too much attention, but I felt the pain of it when I was on my cycle, and I was just kind of like, this is weird.
Mm.
Um, but I kept going, and I was just like, I'll check into it. And I won't say something, but it was the Lord. It was like, you need to get that checked. So I asked my mom about it, and my mom is a breast cancer survivor, and so she was like, if it's not hurting you, she's like, it shouldn't be hurting. Usually those are the telltale signs. But she checked it for me and she said, well, let's make sure you get checked out. So that's what I did. I called my doctor routine and she said, yeah, come on in. And then she said, yeah, you do have a knot. I went look into it, went to get a mammogram. And usually I get one every year because my mom is a breast cancer survivor and I have many women in my family who has um those traits. So I usually get checked. I've been getting checked since I was 25.
Okay.
So that was just something that I do. And, I'm 39. And so I missed a couple of years, but I usually get back on it, and I have dense breast. So when I went for my mammogram, I'm used to saying, "Oh, it's abnormal. Let's do a little further more checking." And so that's what they did. And then they said, "Well, so I think we need to do a biopsy on this just to make sure that it's nothing." And I said, "That's fine. I've had a biopsy before, 2019, so that wasn't an issue for me. I didn't think anything of it." And a couple of weeks went by. So we're into June now. So a couple more weeks went by, and then I got my test results. And
Mm.
so the doctor said, do you want to come in or do you want to see a specialist? And I was like, I'll come in. And the doctor said, your test results came back and you have breast cancer. And I had to take a breath because that wasn't what I was expecting.
Okay.
And I'm 39, just turned 39, by the way. And I was didn't it was so many things that have circled through my head. As we all know, we have friends, we have families who have encountered this. So I was really more so like, here we go again. That's how I felt
Mhm.
because of what was going on with what had happened with my family. So um, I looked at the lady. I said, "Okay, so what do we do now?" And she was like, "Well, the doctor will be with you." I didn't like the way she said it to me because she kind of just matter of factly said it to me. The bedside manner wasn't what I would have done. So I was a little heated, like, so what do you mean? And she couldn't give me anything. And I was like, how are you going to tell somebody this? And you can't give me more. So I was like 38 hot by the time I walked out of there. But I didn't show it. And so the manager at that particular place, she was a head nurse, and she said, she could tell I was like worried, but I was also upset because I was like, I'm not leaving here until I can get an appointment with my breast specialist. And she kind of, the doctor was just like, well, maybe, Monday or Wednesday. I was like, I don't need maybes. I need a date. So one thing I learned as a caregiver, and then also just like advocating for children, like you have to advocate for yourself. So that was just my number one thing. Like, no, we're gonna find a date, and we're gonna set a date, and it's gonna be very soon, sooner than later. Um, so the doctor called the my oncologist, and she made an appointment, and she said, I just went on ahead and made your appointment. She said, I hope you can make it this date. I said, whatever date you give me is fine. Um, People don't do that. She was just super kind. She said, you're gonna be fine.
Mm.
But she said, I think you'll like this doctor, and I think he's one of the best. And shout out to Dr. Jean-Louis. He's in Henry County, uh, and sorry, Piedmont Hospital in Henry County. He's amazing. But I went, so my oncologist, Dr. Jean-Louis, he went on and thoroughly checked me. He educated me on everything. I went to him. So that was on a Friday when I got diagnosed. By that Monday, I went to my oncologist and I met with my oncologist. But over the weekend, I was freaking out. And so the hardest person to tell was my mom,
Mhm.
because I knew she was, when you've been with someone pretty much your whole life and they're gone. And then when you have staples in your life like your sister and your great aunt that, for me it's my great aunt, but her aunt that died, it takes the rug out. It takes the rug out from under you. And then of course, numerous of people who have died. So I was worried about her more so even myself, because um mentally it does something to you. And I think also then thinking about it's your child and not a sister or your husband, or like it's your child. So I was more nervous to tell her because I didn't want her to worry. Um, but in my eternal mentally, I was wrestling with the Lord, like, is this it? Um, this is not the way I wanted to end it. This is kind of earlier than I this is kind of earlier than I suspected. So those are all the thoughts and the questions. And I was like, is this going to be the end? Because I really thought like we had more time, and that's legit. Like I think anybody in my age range, in my age at this time, would say the same thing. So I had so many thoughts that were going through my head, but at the same time, it was a juxtapose because it was like, I know who you are. And this is me and God speaking in dialogue. I'm like, I know who you are. Like, I know what you can do. but I didn't think it was going to be like this. So can you help me just mentally like make some kind of sense of this? And I just sat with it. So for me, when I'm stressed, I walk. And I went and I walked for 2 hours and I cried and I prayed and I cried and I prayed. And the Lord said very quickly, and it was just really matter of factly, like, you're gonna be fine.
Mm,
He said, you're gonna be fine. And I sat with that. I read Psalms and I just sat with it. He said it again. He said, you're gonna be fine.
mm,
I
mm.
don't know that he said, I don't know what else to tell you, but you're gonna be fine.
Right, right.
And I said, you got anything else? Because right now my mind is going. He said, no, you're just gonna be fine. That's all you need to know.
So just a quick question, as because you were 38, 39,
Mhm.
did you feel like you were being robbed and or punished, or
Punish.
what were your feelings
Yeah.
for going through that?
I did the idea of punishment, the idea of maybe I didn't do something right.
Mm,
Um, yeah, the idea of, and it goes back into that grief posture. Sometimes I used to pray to the Lord, like, I'm not going to do harm to myself, but I'm okay if you don't wake me up in the morning.
mm,
I was in a lot of pain, and what I didn't express in 2023, a lot happened. Like I ended an engagement. I had um a difficult was it a car accident
mm,
that I had to do like 2 months of therapy for. Um, Life just kept happening and kept happening. And so I felt like I had lost so much to the point where didn't want didn't really want to do this. It was difficult to wake up in the morning and it was difficult to keep going and put a smile on my face or even just put on clothes because I was in a lot of pain mentally and then sometimes even physically. Like my heart was broken. My heart was broken in different ways that I mean, as you could imagine, my heart was broken in many different ways. So I would say fast forwarding back to 2025, I would say maybe punishment,
mm,
maybe not making the right choices, not doing the right things um, towards people, towards relationships, towards yeah. I did
mm.
personally.
So as you went through that, how did God bring you out of that? How were you freed from that thinking so that
Yeah.
you could just be totally reliant and dependent on Him?
Yeah. I had to realize that I'm not that powerful
Mhm,
and that there is whenever there is an expiration date, that's just it. That's your expiration date.
mhm.
And that God determines the time when you're going to come in this world and when you're going to leave this world.
Yes.
There is nothing that I can do to make him speed up that date or
Mhm,
to speed up that date to where I'm going to meet him.
mhm,
And the most important thing is I had to learn that every day that I wake up is another day to fulfill the purpose that he has for me.
mhm,
So whether it was very bad or very good, it didn't matter. That was an opportunity for God to do what he needed to do. And he wasn't going to be done until I fulfilled whatever he called me to do here on earth.
mhm, mhm,
So that was my resolve. That was the answer that I got. Like, you're not that powerful to think that you cause judgment on yourself.
mm,
There will be a time that I will be judged. But right now, I had to realize that this diagnosis is an opportunity for God to show himself, and then also an opportunity for me to see the goodness of and the faithfulness of God.
mm, mm. So, what would you say to a person who's struggling, a lady who's struggling right now with that, I must have done something, and this is why all of this is happening to me? What would you say to her to help her see that she is not all powerful and she cannot self judge? It's God who judges.
We all have a hmm, we all are going through something, whether we decide to share that or not, or if we wanted to whether we decide to share or not, there's always something that we're going through.
Mm,
And 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 what I've realized personally, is that all of our tests and trials are for someone else to help them get through. I
mm,
don't know what it's like to have children, but one day when I do have children, I know that you will be able to help me and walk me through some of those things that I have no clue about.
mm,
Um, I don't, even with marriage, like I don't know what it's like, but I know one day you're going to help me walk me through that. Um, the ups and downs, the highs and lows of that. And so
mm,
I just want to say that it's not a precursor, it's an opportunity for God to show himself, but then it's an opportunity for you as an individual to look inside and ask God, what do you want me to learn from this?
mm,
What do you want me to, what is it that you want me to know, out of this season of my life, at this juncture? Like, what do you want me to know, and help me to process through that? Help me to learn how to forgive. Help me to learn how to navigate this this hard time in life. Whatever your thing may be, like there's always a lesson in it. And I would say sometimes we have to shift our mindset and ask God instead of internalizing and trying to make it about something that maybe God doesn't, it's not about.
mhm, mhm. How important is it, as we're talking still in the beginning, how important was it to have friends around you to encourage you, to lift you up, or did you find that too heavy for you, you couldn't deal with it? I know that people have differences, and so what was your take on people around you or people not around you?
I chose to tell people who I knew, well, number one, that didn't have a lot on their plate. Some of my friends have a lot on their plate.
Okay.
And I didn't want to be a extra burden. And I know that most of my friends were like, no, you're not. But at the same time, like that's a real lot. That's something. So I told one person, and the Lord really quickly said, you tell people who that will go before the throne in a way that they won't worry you, but they won't also put their burdens off on you.
Mm,
And that's what I did.
okay.
I had to I had to create a which is why I didn't tell a lot of people, because a lot of people got a lot of opinions and it's different for everybody, which I realize now, like everybody's journey is different, but I had to make sure that I fortified my circle with people who literally could go before the throne and not put their opinions or their experience off on me, but more so encourage me to say, okay, whatever you decide, okay. But at the same time, I was open to their suggestions, so I wasn't like closed off. I was open to their suggestions. I just needed that strength because I was already on the edge to just gotta jump it off the cliff. So I was like, I need that strength to say everything's gonna be okay, and let's pray about it,
Mhm.
if that makes any sense. So I did, but I was very selective about who I told. And because I held on to what God told me that I'm going to be okay.
Mhm.
So I didn't know how the healing was going to come, but I did know it was going to come.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Mhm.
um,
But sometimes it is something that God wants you to do and just say, okay, I've heard it all. People are praying, and I appreciate that, Lord, but I really want to hear your voice. And so you heard through your physician, I believe, and that got the ball rolling. So want to finish telling us your story?
yeah. So we did more tests. I went into the office that Monday morning, and again, I would say he was one of the best oncologists I've ever met, with bedside manner, but also he educated his clients, his patients. And he walked me through everything. And he said, well, right now it looks like you're at a good state, or early stage. We can, he gave me options of what it looks like and what we could possibly do. He did a ultrasound, and then he said, what I appreciated was he's very thorough. So he said, I want to do another test just to get a clear picture. He's like, I'm not a person that I want to see all of what's going on before I cut. Some people are they're cut happy. They want to cut you and just kind of get you in and out. He's like, no, I want to see the whole picture before I, go in and we do what we need to do. So I did a, I'm sorry, I did a MRI. Yep. I did an MRI, and it was very clear that the cancer, although it was in an early stage, it was in different spots on my left side. And so I had to make the decision of, now that we got a clear picture, he was just kind of explaining as he was explaining the results. He called me. He's like, this is where we are. And I cried. And I thought that I could just kind of take it out and go back to living normal. And he said, no, we can't. He said, we're gonna have to remove your your breast tissue, your left side. So I had to make a decision on what I did. And I cried and I cried and I cried. And I was like, Lord, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I don't have anything. Like, now you want to take my, as we think our rite of passage, of being a woman,
Mhm.
and I just had to sit with it for a minute, and God was like, but this is your life.
Mm.
What's more important, a part of you or all of you?
Mm.
Um, And I had to come to that because I kept asking, like, God, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want? And I was really in tears about this. Because I heard it. I heard all of the options, but I still was very frustrated about what I should do, because sometimes what somebody else does may not be the road that you need to take. And that's where I was with it. Like, it just had nothing to do with I wanted to make the right decision. I wanted to make the decision that God wanted me to make. and not what I thought or what somebody else thought. So I was really battling that. And it took me about 2 or 3 days to really sit with it. And I just kept asking the same question, like, "What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?" And I sat and I laid in bed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And then new ideas came up. And
Mm,
he was like, well, this is where you are. This is what you can do. He said, you could take one, you could take both. You could, like just walk me through everything. And I just start reading and I start looking up things. And he said, what? I mean, there is breast tissue. It's breast tissue, Christy. I said, okay. And so instead of taking one, I just decided to take both. And I part of that reason was I didn't want to come in and continue with one and the possibility of it possibly coming in my right side. And I've had a lot of problems on my right side, which I was kind of surprised why it was on my left.
mm,
So I just made this executive decision like, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and take both. And scared out of my mind because I had no clue what I was signing up for. But I know what I heard clearly was it's okay. Um, it's okay if you decide to do both. It's not a death sentence. The death sentence is if you just sit with this for a while, right? And you and I had that conversation, and I was gonna wait another 3 months because I was like, it's early, and and I remember you saying to me, you said, don't wait, don't wait.
mhm,
And I took heed of that and I said, she's right. I don't need to wait. My mom said the same thing. She said, don't wait. But when your mom says it, I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was a little frustrated because as my mom, I think she was putting her emotions with it. And I was like, but I need your help. But she's like, it's different now. She's like, I had this like over 20 years ago. And now, you're going through the same thing. She said, it's just very different. Technology is different. So I really, but I did lean in on a lot of women who did go through it, who went through it. Had a lot of cousins. I had a lot of friends that just was talking me through it, and she was like, "If you decide to get it, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. Here are your options. Here's what I did." And
mm,
hearing those stories really helped me to say, now I'm like, oh, it's fine, but beforehand, I was like, this is the end of the world. Like, oh my gosh. But yeah, hearing those stories helped me a lot to make that decision. But yeah, I was up in tears about it because I just didn't know. And you never know what's on the other side until you do it, right? So
right,
that's
right.
what
Wow, that's powerful. Let's go to the day of your surgery.
yeah.
Yeah, that in itself uh, is purely testimony.
The morning of my surgery, I only slept like maybe a couple of hours. And I had packed 6 weeks of clothes and stuff to my mom's house. And my mom is a worry ward sometimes. And she was asking me 50 million questions that morning. I said, listen, I don't need this, okay? It's about me. And we're just gonna she's like, don't talk to me like that. And I was like, listen, I can't take it. I just need you to just chill out. So yeah, I just had to stay calm. I knew people were praying for me. I knew that there were angels.
Hmm.
There were angels covering me. Um, Psalms 91. reminded me of that. I knew that I was going to be okay.
Hmm.
As nervous as I was, I just I can't explain it, but it was a peace that came over me. Even when my doctor came in and I could tell, he was like, "You all right?" And usually I have like 5 million questions and I'm like, "Okay, what about this? What about this? What about this?" And he's like, "Yep, well, we're here all day for you." And I had no question. He said, "Miss Bryant, you don't have anything?" And I was like, "No." I think he was scared. He was like, "Okay." I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Let's go." It's like it's a championship. This your championship. Time for your I make football analogies. I said, "This is your championship. It is time to get your championship ring. Let's go." And he just cracked up laughing and he said, "Okay, okay. Um, if you don't have any questions, hey, I'll um I'll go ahead and get started in the OR." So okay, cool, cool, cool. So nurses and then they came back and got me. I didn't realize that how quick the trip was to the OR. It was like right there.
Hmm.
I was right next to it. Anyway, I just started singing Nothing But the Blood of Jesus. And I just started saying, I was like, come on, y'all sing with me now. Oh, precious. And they were like, you better sing. And I was like, come on, sing with me. And I literally sang that all the way into the OR room. And then the lady put the mask over me. So I guess I was annoying her with my songs. But um, even my doctor said, they were saying to my oncologist, they said, "What did you say to her?" They was like, she was such in a mood, like she was giving us joy, and it's like 6 or 7 in the morning. It was like she's giving us joy and hope. And I was like, he's like, hey, it's which I know he's a believer as well, so it was nothing but the joy of the Lord. Now,
Hmm.
it goes back to that knowing I knew God was going to take care of me. He had kept showing me, even all the way up to like my friends, my coworkers was doing things. They gave me a basket. My church family covered me in prayer. My family covered me in prayer. Like I was well, my friends, oh God, my friends
Hmm.
that are family now. So
Hmm.
y'all can't get rid of me. I just knew that I was going to be fine.
Hmm.
And that's what it was. I went in singing, and I said, I'm gonna go in with the joy of the Lord
Hmm.
because He is my strength, and I'm gonna praise my way into the OR, and that was really my mindset. Like I'm gonna praise my way to the OR, and to the point where I want them to see and them to know that this girl is covered.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We sometimes think these little things, irritations in our lives are so major. But when someone like you experiences something greater than that little splinter and has peace and has the presence of the Lord and a song in her heart and sharing it with everybody, even quoting scripture, that is such a powerful testimony. And you can just see the peace in you right now because now you're on the other side. But we do have to say that you are cancer free. Yes.
I will have to do a reconstruction probably at the top of next year.
Well, I have two questions to ask you. And I always ask women to define the word ageless, um, but I'm going to ask you in a different light. As you've walked this road, how would you define the word ageless? How would you define it in this journey?
Ageless for me is you are always learning.
Mm.
You're never, you never hit a plateau. Um, and I consider myself still a little younger, so I can't, but even there's always something that you can learn. and grow and develop and just realize that this is a journey of this is a marathon and not a sprint. And no matter where you are in life, like ageless is almost like to me immortal, but in the sense of even when we get to eternity, there is something that we're still going to be learning. We're
Mm.
still going to be understanding. We're still going to. So that's kind of synonymous. When you say ageless, that's where I think synonymous. Synonymous.
Synonymously.
Thank you. I think on that track because you're always learning. You're always discovering new things.
Mhm. Mhm. And the other question, if you were a spice, which one would you be?
I would be ginger.
Hmm. Why?
Uh, Ginger and cayenne. Cayenne because I at this point in my life, I'm gonna say whatever I need to say and move on. I you take in love. In love. But you take it as it comes, okay? Because I life's too short. Okay. But then the other one is ginger, and I say ginger because so ginger it aids in digestion and it also settles your stomach, right?
Hmm.
And so learning that in this process, and but it also cleans out your impurities.
Okay.
So it's in this process, it for me is more like I'm settled. I can honestly say like I am content and I'm settled with where God has me. But at the same time, I'm still cleaning out the impurities that or the residue that life has, going back to that ageless process because we're still learning, we're still growing.
Mhm.
Or I should say pruning, as some people may understand it more like that. And then I'm aiding other people in how to move forward with their lives. Or in this case, um, in this particular situation with other women, like every day you wake up is another day
Mhm.
to live out the purpose that God has given you. And if you don't know what it is, then it's our duty to find out.
Mhm.
Because I don't want to get before God and he asked me, what did I do with what he gave me?
Mhm.
And I have nothing to give. I
Mhm.
have nothing to show for it. So life, instead of life happening to me, I want life to happen through me. And I want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can within reason to live the life God has purposed for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Christy, for just your willingness to come and to share your testimony. You are such a beautiful woman of God, and you are just such a ray of encouragement. You've been filled with grace, kindness, and above all, the strength of the Lord. And I'm just very, very thankful for you. And I love you so much. And I'm just
Thank you.
thankful that you came on. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mom. I appreciate you. And I love you
I love you too.
always.
Hey, my friend. Thanks for joining me today on Ageless and for being an amazing part of this journey. Don't forget, you have been fearfully and wonderfully made. Go out today and live this life vibrantly. Until next time, bye for now.